Hello everyone, I'm back with the second part in the History of Japan series. If you haven't seen the first part, I recommend watching it first. Thank you all, and please consider subscribing and liking this video because it really does help out the channel. When we last left off, General Takuji marched on Kyoto and made himself the shogun of Japan. This effectively made him the ruler of the islands, stripping power once more from the emperor, who was a puppet to the shogun. However, civil war soon came to Japan, as the old, displaced emperor fled south and founded the southern court. Takuji also did that one thing that many new rulers do, and put his allies in positions of power, governing provinces and such. He set up his government in the Muromachi district of Kyoto, hence the name of the period, the Muromachi period. The issue was that the Ashikagas created a decentralized system of daimyos, who increasingly took more power from the shogun. This may remind you of the feudal system in Europe, which was going on at around the same time. While the country attempted some centralization in 1400, resolving the conflict between the two courts, only 50 years later, the nation would once more break out into civil war. The Onin War was a succession crisis that spiraled violently out of control. The main conflict was between the emperor's brother and the emperor's son. Conventional wisdom would say that the son should have the throne, but the brother was promised it before the emperor had an heir. During this time, the fighting caused the ancient capital of Kyoto to burn down. Once the dispute was settled in 1477, Japan was an anarchy. All the daimyos were no longer fighting for a side, they were simply fighting for control of the capital. However, this period wasn't completely terrible. Politically, it was a disaster, yes, but some of the most influential parts of Japanese culture came out during this time, such as tea ceremonies and bonsai tree art. One type of theater that arose during this time was no theater. Early versions had existed in China since the Kamakura period, but it became popular in Japan during this time. One of the most memorable parts of this theater are the masks, which you may recognize as an iconic part of Japanese culture. Crash Course has a video on it, which I recommend you watch, but don't click off yet, we still have a civil war to deal with. This period in Japan is known as the Sengoku Jidai, and hosts some of the most famous samurai, such as Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and the most famous ruler of Japan, Tokugawa Ieyasu. This period is full of complexities and relations between daimyos, backstabbing, and even ninjas. It was basically an action movie plot. However, this is concise history, so I'm going to give you the 60-second version. Okay, so the Oda clan wants to march to Kyoto, but they first have to steamroll a smaller clan, the Matsudaira. So the Matsudaira call on their second neighbor, the Imigawa. With one of their flanks protected, the two clans move to crush the Oda. However, Oda Nobunaga in the Battle of Okayazama crushes the Imigawa and kills their leader. So the Matsudaira surrender, but they actually ally with the Odas. So for now, the Oda's flank is secure, so they get the help of supposed deposed shogun, and on that pretense march over and take Kyoto. Yay, but the deposed shogun calls for the allies to depose of Oda. Not so yay. But Oda beats them, with the help of the Matsudaira leader, Tokugawa Ieyasu. One betrayal later, and it looks like the Oda will conquer all of Japan, but then he is betrayed. However, his lieutenant Toyotomi Hideyoshi defeats the usurper and finishes conquering Japan. He confiscates everyone's swords, has a disastrous campaign in Korea, and then dies, leaving his son as heir. One of the regents, Tokugawa Ieyasu, usurps control after a mercifully short civil war, and is shogun for 3 years before he decides to retire. Whew. Okay, done. Okay, so that basically sums up the unification of Japan, extremely simply. Of course, it is way more complex than that, with many more unmentioned historical figures, such as the Takeda clan, which was one of the most powerful. But with Tokugawa in charge, what now? Well, about halfway through the Sengoku Jidai, the Dutch came to Japan. But now under Tokugawa, Japan wanted to restrict trade, so they did that, confining the Dutch to 2 cities. There was relative peace and stability, just the invasion of Okinawa, which was ruled by the Raikyu at the time, and a Christian rebellion that caused the Dutch to be restricted to the island of Dejima for trade. Foreign ideas were often banned, such as Christianity, and foreign books were outlawed. With harsh punishments, culture still thrived in Japan, and so did the economy. However, slow economic downturn due to restrictive trade happened until someone new appeared, not from the West, but from the Pacific. However, you're going to have to wait until the next video to learn about that. We will finish up the history of Japan in part 3, hopefully. If you would like to see that, please consider subscribing and leaving a like on this video to make sure that you see the next video. As a small channel, it is truly appreciated. Thank you all for watching and have a good rest of your day.